Hello and welcome to this session on regional Indian poetry in translation. We'll begin with Salma's poem titled Perspective. It was originally written in Tamil and the poem is a translation.
Perspective by Salma. I stand upside down and comb my hair. I cook topsy-turvy and eat dust too. I squat inverted to feed my child. Heels upward, I read my books. Upside down, I gaze at myself. Terrified, stunned and staring at me, a bat, hanging right on the tree in the garden.
Okay, so it's a very small poem, 2 stanzas. The second one is a shorter one than the first, and the first stanza is a list of things that the speaker does or carries out. What do you think?
I feel that it is representing what a female normally does in a household. That she is combing her hair and she feeds her child, she's reading her book, and it's all like details that maybe gives me a feeling that she is somebody who's restricted to household, who doesn't have a life of her own outside the house.
What makes you think that she's restricted to the household?
Because everything is related to that. She doesn't say anything that can be related to outside world, apart from the gaze that she gets from the bat.
Very good. And even that too, it's a scene from the garden.
Yeah, yes,
right, not from a park.
Yeah,
right. It's a garden scene. So the first section, if you want to specialize the first section, you can put it within the 4 walls of domesticity.
Yes.
And the second one, right outside domesticity, in the sense that it's just outside the home, but not entirely part of the public sphere.
Yeah.
So this is still private, right? So just outside in the garden. So these are the 2 spatial, perspectives that we get from the poem, right? There's another thing which kind of estranges us from this routine, from the mundane details, from the everyday details that she offers us, which is that she's always topsy-turvy, right?
Yeah.
She's upside down. So all this is fine, like combing your hair, cooking, squatting to feed the child, reading, everything is normal, routine, humdrum activities that a woman can perform on a daily basis, except this, that she's doing all this while she's standing upside down.
Yeah.
Like while she's in a topsy-turvy position. So that kind of estranges us. This is, this kind of makes this whole scenario non-normative, right? And the last line is interesting to me. I gaze at myself. So we have a woman who is very self-conscious, who's self-aware, who is reflecting on herself, and this is what she realizes about her. That she's not. That she's not normal, that she is not, at peace with herself. She realizes that she is somehow being put in this distorted position, right? So that realization leads us to read the second stanza, which is terrified, stunned, and staring at me, a bat hanging right on the tree in the garden, right? What do you make of the second one? The second stanza. What are the associated ideas that you get?
The associated idea is that she is always topsy-turvy. So definitely bats are always like that. They lay upside down, and that weird, the connection that she draws between the woman herself and a bat is highly unnatural, I suppose, because I don't know. Normally, people do not compare oneself to a bat, and then just because she does all these things, staying upside down, definitely that is the only
Definitely.
connection that you can draw.
She is capturing that moment of being upside down, and she thinks that here is a perfect parallel, right? Terrified, stunned. That set of adjectives is also pretty interesting. Terrified, this domestic routine, right, that she has been doing, is something which is terrifying deep down on a psychological level, right? She's stunned by the fact that she's forced to do all these things day in and day out, and that normalization of this incarceration is a terrifying realization. Yes. She's stunned that she could kind of get used to this kind of routine, quote unquote, right? And for me, the most interesting word in the second stanza is ripe. I pick up on this word ripe when I teach my students this poem. Why that choice of the word ripe? Ripe indicates a set of associated ideas involving lush, attributes of being lush, ready for consumption, something which is very beautiful, attractive to look at, ripe for something, So what is that? So what I would do is, for me, the association is between ripe and the fact that she begins the poem by combing her hair. Right, she is kind of doing something to her physical appearance. It could simply be out of the need to be presentable, or the need to be to be attractive to somebody else's consumption. Right, so that idea of sexuality is also one of the subtexts, very subtle subtext, which you can weave around these words of being ripe. And combing your hair, and then she's very fertile as well, which is indicated by the child that she has, right? So all these things make us believe that on top of this list of routines, she has another job to do as well, which is not listed out, right? By being very inviting to someone in the household. So that's also there, but the voice. I want to go back to the voice of this speaker. She is a very enlightened speaker who is able to draw comparisons between this creature from the wild, capture a particular moment of that creature from the wild, which is hanging upside down, and she could compare herself to that idea of not being up in an upright position, right? Not being in an upright position like the other beings in the world, like the other male beings in the world who are in an upright position, and because of their uprightness, she has to be upside down. So that relationship is pretty clear to this female, the speaker. So which is an interesting poem. We have other poems on the course, and I want to pick out one which is from a female speaker, and that is, I have given birth to a son. So it's very clear. It's very clear that this is again from a female speaker, right? And my question to you is, after you have read it out, what are the comparisons? Is this poem comparable to the one by Salma? So can you first read this, please?
I have given birth to a son. Dear sweet sparrow, deliver this message for me. Tell my father that I have given birth to a son. Tell me, mother, that I have given birth to a son. Ask my father to give me a new sari. Ask my mother for a multicolored blouse. Tell my brother that I have a son. Ask him to give me a sari too. Tell my uncle that I have given birth to a son. Ask him to bring me a multicolored blouse.
This is pretty clear that this is a female speaker, female voice, and she has just given birth to a son, right? And she has a particular set of demands from her kith and kin, right? She wants multicolored blouse, she wants a multicolored sari. She wants a sari. A blouse and sari seems to be the repetitive demand that this mother has. And we talked about this earlier in class, and we perhaps thought that, perhaps there's a dearth of outfits, or perhaps that's the only thing that gives her joy, and perhaps this is part of ritual. So we had like a set of associated narratives that we had come up with, It could be a ritual that these relatives, participate in by giving these blouses and saris to a new mother. And the second is perhaps she doesn't have any, not quite a lot of outfits, so she's asking, and perhaps this is the only set of, items that gives her immense joy. So these are some of the things that we talked about. Now my question to you is, how would this speaker compare with the speaker from Salma's perspective?
In both these poems, you can see that they have just given birth, so they are mothers.
Yes.
In perspective, as you have pointed out, that she seems to be like a well-read person, because she says that I read my books upside down. And I like the idea that you have pointed out, that right. What I feel is that she thinks that she is at the right age, that she is, the comparison that she draws between her with that of the bat is that sense, that very this is like a moment where she understands that what is she doing with her life. This is an age for her to do something with her life, but she's restricted. She does not know why is all this happening, and she is definitely a well-read person, so she wants to explore more with her life, and maybe domesticity has because of the childbirth probably she has to remain within these four walls. On the other poem, you can see that she's happy about it. I'm not saying that this persona is not happy that she is a mother or anything, but this is a sense of liberation for her. That childbirth in the poem I have given birth to son is. You see that childbirth is a form of liberation for her. She's extremely happy that she has given birth to a son, specifically not a daughter, and that gives her a power, and she wants gifts from not gifts but sari, specifically from her kith and kin and from her parents.
I want to begin with the idea of Freud's uncanniness. So you pointed out that she has come to the stage where she's kind of reached that point of realization, right? This is that something is terribly wrong with what's happening to her. So I would want to connect it with Freud's idea of uncanny. This is familiar yet strange. This is unfamiliar. She is familiar to this world of the routine domestic, biological processes. At the same time, everything seems to be unfamiliar too, strange too for her. So maybe this is not the norm. Maybe this is not the right way to go about these domestic processes. Something needs to be, set right. So that kind of realization is coming into her thought process, which is why she's comparing herself to being a bat which is upside down. Right? So this is not normal. The other thing that I wanted to point out was that in both these poems, the speakers are all by themselves. Right? There's nobody else apart from the child here and apart from the child here, and we do not know the sex of this child. And here it's spelled out that it's a male, right? So their loneliness becomes clear. Right, and the other difference is, as you rightly pointed out, she is reading, but even that act of reading is not normal. Maybe the circumstances, the kind of spatial or the kind of the opportunities that are there, which makes her read, even those may be circumscribed or constrained, right? So that she's not able to read the way she wants to read. She could be reading while she's cooking, looking after the child, and things like that. So the room of one's own is not there for her yet. That Virginia Woolf got, in the 20th century, she's not there yet. So that idea of even the act of reading being upside down is what is very tragic about this one, right? Even there, she's not able to kind of realize her full potential, the full potential in the sense that her sense of satisfaction here, she's not getting that even through the act of reading, right? When she's able to get out of herself, right? When you read, you go out. Right? You go out of your own self to look at other selves, to look at other worlds. And that's not happening for the speaker in Salma's poem, right? Perhaps she's being circumscribed by, frying something or or tending to the child, right? So all kinds of interventions are there, right? Perhaps that's why she is feeling that she is in a kind of slightly tilted position to the rest of the world, a slant, right? Not in the position of normativity, right? And here, even in this one, as you said, perhaps she's not very well read, because there's no reference to any act of reading or anything creative which takes her outside of this immediate set of ideas of child and the gifts, right? And the other thing, as I think we also talked about this, is that again she is the one who's sending out messages, right, through the sparrow, right? No human messenger, and we kind of interpret it in two ways. Either it's the routine, the poetic, trope of using a bird as a messenger, or it could be because nobody is there to give us a kind of support to this new mother to kind of share her burdens, right? And there's a very clear absence of the male here, and the absence of the male, the father figure, right? So those figures are not referred to. There's no reference to the husband here, no reference to the husband there, right? And we have a set of demands in this poem, I have given birth to a son, and you pointed out that this is a kind of a liberation. Yes, liberation in a sense, because she can voice out. So having a son gives her the space to speak out. If you don't have a son, you're not allowed to speak out. So that seems to be the underlying message of this poem, that if you don't have a male progeny, then you don't even have a voice to talk about anything, to ask for anything. So this is a kind of freedom, yes, but it is a freedom which is circumscribed by patriarchy, right? So we need to be aware of that. And if you look at the nature of the demands, even that is circumscribed to external things which makes her happy, which in fact makes her beautiful, right? Which makes her inviting further, and that invitation would further lead to other kinds of activities, and then you will be kind of caught in that project of procreation again, right? And that reminds us of this poem, right, where she's combing her hair, the reference to ripeness. So there is a kind of inbuilt move towards sexuality, and inbuilt move towards sexuality that kind of further entraps the woman, right? So perhaps the tidying up, the decorating of oneself is not to fulfill one's idea of self, the female self, but to please someone else. So these associated ideas are there, and we do not have opinions in the poem which will negate that kind of picture that we are building up, right, that I am trying to build up. So we don't have an alternative voice which will kind of say, no, this kind of meaning making is wrong. All the suggestions seem to be going down that route, right? Okay, so anything else that you can point out about these two?
Maybe in this poem you have this reference of sparrow, and here you have a reference to bat.
So, very good.
So how they associate with these birds per se. Sparrow is definitely a kind of creature that appears in almost all the poems, like not almost all the poems, but still you have sparrows and nightingales which are related to singing and mirth making.
Definitely a sign of optimism. Right? Definitely a sign. This is not so. That is associated with Gothic imagery, right? Gothic tropes. It's associated with darkness. It's associated perhaps with bad luck. Something that's not right. Something that doesn't belong to the real world of light. Right? It's associated with the underworld and other nocturnal stuff, right? So it's not a good omen, not a sign of hope or optimism, but it's a sign of darkness, right? So that idea is communicated through the imagery of the bat, but here it's a sign of simplicity and happiness. So you can see that this speaker is a woman with a simple perspective on life. So we can say yes, she's given birth to a child. She's immensely happy. She wants to spread the word. She uses this trope, the poetic trope of a sparrow, to send out the messages and make sure she wants to make sure that she gets all the goodies because of this. It's a moment of joy. You don't have to read it as a bleak portrait of a particular gender. But then there's also this other subtext which can be read. Perhaps that woman doesn't know that her happiness is fractured. She's not even conscious of the fractures, the fault lines in her happiness. But as enlightened readers, maybe we can kind of, see that, that behind this happiness, that there is also a deeper, dissatisfactions and unfulfilled life. That perhaps that woman is not aware of that, and for the better.
Maybe it's because of the immediacy.
Yes.
She has just delivered a baby, but on the other hand, in perspective, she is a mother.
Yeah.
It's not given that she is just delivered or anything, so we can take it for granted that she has been a mother for a year or two, or maybe so she has gone through that process.
Yes, very good.
It's not about the happiness that you get when you deliver a baby.
Yes.
And you have a lot of things that you have to undergo alone. Although there is this male figure, being a mother is a totally different thing. We have to take care of so many things, not just the baby. You have to take care of us, you have to take care of the family. So there is a burden that comes along.
The juggling of different kinds of duties. And the pain underneath that, the pain involved in kind of trying to strike a balance across these different domains of domesticity, child rearing, and your own, spiritual or professional pursuits, your intellectual pursuits, and the inability to kind of, satisfactorily manage all these domains are also part of the narratives. So you're quite right in pointing out that this is a mother who's kind of, who's struggling with the fact that, that she has to manage all these, whereas this one is like the visceral, immediate feeling of happiness on having given birth to a child. So this gives us a greater window, a bigger picture of the realities, and this one is more sort of a kind of
an image.
This seems to be a stereotype, for lack of a better word. This is cliched happiness, perhaps. Happiness, but this is something which doesn't kind of connect with the realities.
Yes.
Right, the everyday reality. We don't know what else she has to go perform once this joy has died down, or at least come down from that, heights of joy. So that kind of reality is not here. The specificity is missing from this one. The only window that we have is this materiality of the sari and blouse. That's the material thing that we can kind of think about as to why she's obsessed. It's a repetitive, the same material image keeps coming up time and again. Perhaps, and I also talked about the fact that the color associated with this multicolored blouse. Perhaps that's the joy that she can derive. That the joy comes from the various colors. Perhaps the only colorful thing that she has is this one, rather than the routine that she experiences. There's no color there in a spiritual sense. There's no happiness. There maybe everything is monochromatic. Or at least she sees her humdrum life as monochromatic, and the extraordinary things are seen as colorful. The extraordinary things which give her joy are seen as colorful, right? So I think we can put an end to our discussion on these 2 poems, but I want to bring out Chill Out, right? And this is an interesting poem. Maybe I'll read this out. Busy right now with my precious bamboo flute, my delicate fingers on the holes. Darling, can't snuggle you now. I am lost fiddling this melodious flute. Chill out, eat some chili, can't squeeze you right now. Busy with my precious bamboo flute, my delicate fingers on the holes. I think this poem forms a nice piece with the other 2 as well here, because we have a main voice, right? The 2 poems that we have just read are the feminine voices, and we are seeing for the first time what the male is doing right now. And in the male, in Chill Out, says, I'm busy with certain things, with creative things, and I cannot cuddle you now, cannot snuggle you now, and you can see the rejection. It's a reasonable rejection, but we can see the rejection of the female from the male domain, right? He's busy creatively, but there's no space for the feminine in that creative processes, right? The flute playing seems to be the domain of the male, so she has to kind of wait outside wait outside for him to finish up and then come and join her, right? So that separation of the gender roles becomes pretty clear, distinct. So, domesticity, child rearing, looking after oneself so that one remains attractive for the other sex. These are all the gender roles, right? We can kind of read from these poems and gather a set of duties that the female is invested with, right? And we can see that, participating in some kind of creative public sphere is the domain of the male. What are your thoughts?
It's very interesting to see that although the feminine voice is not predominant in this poem, we can understand that she's there.
Yeah.
That she's inviting him, and he rejects it outrightly. And yes, what you said is the only thing that comes to my mind.
No, I can pick up from what you just said. It's a very interesting point. Here, they're completely erased.
Yeah.
Right? They are there, but not exactly within the text. The women are kind of reacting to them, she's kind of presenting herself. She's trying to, keep herself, really attractive. Keeping in mind the male gaze, right? The male gaze is there. But in Chill Out, she's there in the text, right? She's kind of intervening. So she's intervening and he's kind of pushing her out, right? So she is trying to interfere with the smooth functioning of the activities related to the public, to the community, right? So when he's trying to make music, it's music for the community, right? So that's very interesting, the fact that she has found a space for herself within the textual space, right? And he says, darling, can't snuggle you now, I'm lost fiddling this melodious flute. So he's trying to immerse himself with this, within this domain of music. But still he's not able to completely enter that domain because she's the dissident figure trying to take him out of that, right? And he says, chill out, eat some chili. There's a consonant repetition there, church sound, and chili again connects her with all these chores associated with cooking, like chili, making dishes. So she is stepping out of her usual domain, and it makes him, distracts him, to put it very simply, and he wants her to go back. And kind of, enjoy her own dishes. And he says, I can't squeeze you right now, busy with my precious little bamboo flute. So the bamboo is precious because it's associated with community building through music, right? And in that project of community building, she is not participating, at least within the confines of this particular poem. I'm not saying that women do not participate at all in any of the processes, but within the textual dynamics of this particular poem, they are outside of it.
Yes.
Right? So that seems to be clear. And the interesting thing is they are kind of distracting. Romance and sexuality seems to kind of take the male out of their usual professional, cultural duties. Yes. So that kind of idea comes through in this one. All right? Okay, so I think we'll stop here for now and we'll continue in the next session. Thank you.